In this video, traders, we're going to look at what does a volume spike mean. Stay tuned. Hey traders, warm welcome to you. Thank you for joining me. All right, so volume, key part of any trader's arsenal. Looking at price, looking at volume, the relationship between the two works really well for many traders in reading about whether the breakout's going to continue, whether it's a fake out, how strong the move is, the participants, and all that kind of stuff. So what does it really mean when we get a volume spike? Now, it's very much dependent on where price position is and what's actually happening. So I've got four kind of different scenarios that we see every day in the markets, whether we're watching, Apple stock, or we're watching, DAX futures or gold or crude oil or whatever it may be. It could be Forex futures as well. So let's have a look and see how the volume relationship and what these really mean. Okay, so the first one I've got for you is if we've got a range bound condition, right? Price has been sitting in a range. Let's go to purple here. Price has been sitting in a range, and then we start to get a breakout of the range. Now, if we get a volume spike as we break out the range, the chances are, now all those things being equal, there's loads of other things that we look at in trading, it's not some clear cut as this all the time, but if we have a volume spike, the chances are we're more likely going to get a continuation in that move for a certain period. Now, are we going to rip up and go to kind of 52-week highs? I don't know, but this tends to say there's a lot more participants there. Now, one little thing you've got to watch out for, guys, is the next candle. I don't want to go into too much depth in this video, but the next candle is important as well. If it suddenly dries up, that volume spike could just be stopped. So something to watch out for. But generally speaking, if you're getting then another candle with another high volume, you're kind of saying, okay, well, this has probably got some legs to it. And then if we get a kind of little bit of a pullback and the volume starts to dip off, then the next one comes and it's got high volume, then we're all aboard that kind of trade. Quite nice. Okay, number two. What about this scenario? We run up, and as we come right to highs, we get a spike in volume. This could be considered as an exhaustion candle and as exhaustion volume. So it's the last of the buyers. They can't stand anymore. Shorts have just got to puke it up. Longs have got to get in. It's just that final, I've got to take it, got to take it. That causes generally a spike in the actual price, and we get a spike in volume. Now, if that's not continued and that happens to be the high, very often, guys, that could be the high or low for the day, for the week, whatever time frame we're looking at. And then as we get a subsequent move back up, volume's not increasing back to where it was. Some people might say it's a volume divergence, but we are actually sometimes as well, we sometimes try to take out the high. Volume's nowhere near the same kind of thing, and very often that's a good turning point to hit and look for a rotation back. So when we see that kind of spike after a long move, could be considered as an exhaustion volume candle. All right, number three, guys, I've got for you is this one. So when we're in a trend, not really a spike as such, but it could be look as a spike, but in reality, you don't necessarily get the same kind of spike as you do in this scenario or this scenario. I just want to conclude it because the real world, guys. Right, trending up, kind of flagging, pulling back, and then we go again. So what do we see on volume? We see volume being strong on the drive up, good strength. Then we see the volume die down on this pullback, indicating sellers aren't that interested. It's more like buyers backing off the throttle. And then we see this here. This is the spike really as we start to push back up again and push the highs. Volume comes back in. So volume spiking after a period of down or low volume, should I say, when the market's been counter trend. Generally, that's considered quite bullish if we're in this environment. Obviously, flip on its head if we're in the downside, and that could help with your kind of feeling that we can get continuation in the markets. Number four, guys, we've got here a range-bound condition, and we've got a nice volume spike here right in the middle of the range. What does that mean? Absolutely nothing. You've got to be careful of this, guys. This is the trick one. This is the kind of red herring, if you like. A volume spike in the middle of nowhere really isn't that interesting. It's just somebody buying a batch of stuff, unless we get kind of matching price, i.e. that then continues to break out and does this means nothing. It's just a volume coming in, and generally, you might find the volume so low that somebody's just buying a slightly larger amount than everything else, but not even that big, but it causes the volume to spike quite dramatically on the bottom of the chart, which then skews everything. You start thinking it's a decent spike, and it's not really. So price is so important, guys. breaking out of something and you've got a volume spike, good. Spiking up to an exhaustion, again, notice the difference in that. That's because we're in fresh territory. We've been in fresh territory for quite a long time. It's the final kind of shove difference in that compared to that. This one pulling back and then the spike after the pullback, so the continuation of the trend, the volume spikes back in the direction. And the final one, the red herring, when we get that volume spike in the middle of no man's land, no one really cares what's going on. It's a kind of 2-day highs. There's plenty of other highs behind it. It's not that exciting. It's just trying to suck you in, generally speaking, to a trade that's not really there yet. Better off to wait until you get something a little bit more cleaner. All right, guys, that is a volume spike. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you like this kind of stuff, a thumbs up is appreciated, as is your subscription. If you're not already subscribed, make sure you are. Take care. Bye-bye.